Hey guys, Zombie here, and welcome back to another Among Us video. Now, it's been a minute since my last one, but today we have something really special. I think it's really interesting. I think you guys might really enjoy this. This actually was inspired by a comment in my Discord. It was actually someone sharing their stats, and I redacted it a little bit just to not spoil exactly what I'm going to get into in a minute. But if you see Snug Pig Gaming in the comments, say what's up, I don't know. They are really the inspiration behind this video. This thing they posted in my Discord is what brought us here today. Now, we're going to be going over a strat that in theory would win 100% of the time for the crewmates, where the imposters would never win ever. But this will not actually work in practice, and there's actually a pretty interesting reason why it wouldn't. Before we hop into exactly what that all is, though, I was looking at the stats and noticed over 95% of the people who watch my videos aren't subscribed, and that's an insane amount of people who aren't subscribed to watch. So if you can please just go down and check for me, I'd really appreciate you. With that out of the way, let's get into the video. So I'm sure most of you play with 10 people generally, and with 2 imposters. Sure, some people might play with 1, or some crazy people might play with 3. This is going to be focused on a 10-person game with 2 imposters, which in my opinion is like the default or the normal. So you have 10 people and 2 imposters. So how do you set it up where the imposters can't win? Now, when I say this, it's going to sound very weird and out there, and it doesn't make any sense, but just let me explain it, and you'll see that it actually would always work 100% of the time if you use this strat. So imagine this. You have 10 people, 2 imposters. You take 5 people and 5 people, make 2 groups of 5. Now, I know what you're thinking. That would never work, but just listen to what I have to say on a theoretical level, and then I'll explain why, of course, it wouldn't work in actuality. So let's say that Valkyrie, Tina, Plushies, Sykkuno, and Ash are one group of 5. Then you have Disguised Toast, Hafu, Corpse, Ludwig, and 5-Up as the other group of 5. What I'm actually saying is no matter where the 2 imposters are, 2 on one side, 2 on the other side, or 1 and 1, the crewmates would always win. Now, I think the easiest way to explain this is to provide an example of each scenario. So let's start with the scenario that 2 imposters are in the same group of 5. So let's say Disguised Toast and 5-Up are the imposters this game. You have your first group of 5, let's just call it Valkyrie's group, and then you have the second group of 5, Toast's group. So obviously Valkyrie's group is going to move together, they're going to stay together the entire time, and just do tasks and just go to every room together and never split up. And this is important to mention, even if there's a Sabo, you have one group go to one side and one group go to the other if it's a Sabo that requires the crew to split up. So Disguised Toast's group would want to do the same thing, stay together, same room, do tasks at the same time, kind of be in the same place, always be able to see everyone. So there's a few scenarios that could happen. You could have Toast, or you could have 5-Up get a kill and then it gets immediately reported, which we'll get into. It's actually the worst case scenario for the crewmates if that happens. It's actually a lot better if Toast and 5-Up end up getting a double kill. Let's say they kill Corpse and Hafu and it's Toast, Ludwig, and 5-Up remaining on that side. One of them reports the body, doesn't matter who. And now Valkyrie's group, they see, oh, 2 people died. Both the imposters are on the other side. And even if they don't have vote verification on, so when they vote someone out, they don't know if they were crewmate or imposter, they can safely vote out all 3 of the other group and not lose. Even if they vote Ludwig out first, the only remaining crewmate on that side. And here's why. There'll be 5 people in Valkyrie's group, and there'll be the 2 imposters, Toast and 5-Up, in the other group. They can all stay at the button, or obviously if they call a Sabo, they can go do the Sabo. And it doesn't even matter if they get a double kill. Let's say they call Reactor on Skeld, or they call, better yet, Reactor on Polis and split up the 5. And then you have Toast and 5-Up go and they get a double kill on, say, Valkyrie and Tina. They still have 3 people, Plushie, Sykkuno, and Ash. They can disable the Reactor and hit the button. Now it's a 3-on-2. They know who the 2 imposters are because 2 people died, and they know both the imposters are from the other group. So they know for a fact it is Toast and 5-Up. They vote one of them out. It's a 3v1. Even with a Sabo and a kill, it's still 2v1. They can hit the button, and that's it. the crew wins. Now this is also pretty straightforward, but we take a quick step back to the beginning of this last round. It's Valkyrie's entire group is alive, and you have the two imposters, Toast and 5UP, alive on the other side. Even if they only kill one person, so let's say Toast kills Tina, they still vote out Toast or 5UP, and they know the other one, if the game doesn't end, they know the other one's still the imposter, because two people died in the first round in that group. And this is actually why it's more challenging if there's only one kill in the first round. You want there to be a double kill round one, because it makes your job super easy. And actually, for this reason, even if people are stacked on top of each other in the first round, you don't want to be spamming the report button. You would rather there be a double kill than a single kill, which is crazy to think about. So let's get into the scenario where there's two imposters on one side and there's only one kill in the first round. We'll keep the same imposters, Disguise, Toast, and 5UP, and let's say in the first round they kill Hafu. And in this scenario, Ludwig and Corpse didn't notice who got the kill because there was a stack and they really just couldn't tell. If you're ever not positive in this strategy, you skip. And it's very important that you do that, otherwise you give away some of your advantage. Now, if you've played this game for a while, you can recognize there's going to be two imposters and two crew in this second group, in Disguise Toast's group. So you know that lines up a double kill. But that actually doesn't help the imposters at all, because if you look at it, you end up with the same scenario. Toast and 5UP kill Corpse and Lud in the next round, and the other group obviously isn't in the same location, so they don't report the bodies. However, once the two groups meet up, so Valkyrie and Tina, Plushie, Sykkuno, and Ash bump into Toast and 5UP and don't see Lud or Corpse, they'll already know then. But hypothetically, they get a double kill again on Plushies and Tina, so now it's Valkyrie, Sykkuno, Ash, Toast, and 5UP. They report the body. They know both of the people are on the other side, and they know this because both Corpse and Ludwig are dead. So there had to have been a double kill, and obviously there was only two other people over there. So they know who the two are, and you have the same end game where it's 3v2, and the crew always wins that, because they'll know who the two are. You might be thinking, well, what if there's only a single kill in the second round? So if we back it up, in the first round, Toast and 5UP, they got a single kill on Hafu, and Corpse and Ludwig didn't know who did it. What if there's just a single kill the next round? And this is where having some experience in the game would be important, because once you know there's an imposter on your side, you'll start faking tasks maybe a little bit more, you'll be more alert, you'll move away from stacks because you'll want to see who gets a kill if a kill happens. And really anyone who's played the game for more than a handful of hours will understand this, and you'll never have the imposter on that side get away with a kill. Unless, again, there's two on the same side, and they get a double kill, and then they get away with it until either the bodies are discovered by the other group, or they manage to get a kill or two on the other side. But even then, they know who the two imposters are, and it's game over. It's just over. So let's move on to if there's one imposter on each side. So let's say Corpse and Sykkuno are our two imposters, and we have the same groups of 5. This again can lead to some situations where inexperienced players wouldn't be able to pick up on certain things, but anyone who's played the game a fair amount would be able to win this using this strategy. Essentially, an imposter double kill or an imposter single kill ends up being the same strategy I just explained, where once there's a kill on your side, in your group, you become more observant, you become more deceitful with maybe you're faking a task, and you're able to not stack on top of each other just so you can always see who is getting a kill if a kill is to happen. So if there's a double kill round one, which it wouldn't be a double kill per se because they wouldn't be coordinated, it'd be, oh, it just so happened they both ended up getting some sort of stack kill where they didn't get noticed in the first round, which is already going to be pretty hard in the first place, but let's say they do. Now, everyone knows in the game there's an imposter on both sides, 1 and 1, and everyone's going to be playing more carefully and being more observant and being more deceitful and etc. And essentially the reason why this would still win for crewmates is each imposter would have to get 2 kills on their side and not get caught, which is really going to be nearly impossible if you're playing with anyone who's played more than a couple hours. And by a couple, I mean like 5 to 10. Like, it doesn't take much experience in the game to pick some of this stuff up. Another scenario you might be thinking of is, let's say Sykkuno kills Ash round 1, doesn't get caught, Corpse doesn't get a kill. Round 2, Sykkuno kills Plushies, and Corpse didn't get a kill. Odds are that Valkyrie and Tina will be able to figure out that Sykkuno got the second kill because they're paying more attention. So if they vote out Sykkuno, now it's Corpse versus the world. And really, no matter what, he's not going to be able to make anything happen. Crew will most likely win on tasks, or Corpse will get caught. It really doesn't matter how it happens. It's just over. For example, let's say Corpse chokes Ludwig like he hates him, but he actually loves him. And then 5UP, Hafu, and Toast all saw it. Or maybe they didn't. It really doesn't even matter. Because regardless, they'll know now there's one on that side, so they know Tina and Valkyrie are clear, and they shouldn't really be in contact with them for most of the game. And now they can just pay attention on their side. And Corpse can't defeat the whole lobby by himself. Crew will probably end up winning on tasks, like I said before. So I hope that illustrates how 2 imposters on one side or 1 imposter on each side, really, if people stick to the strategy, it will always work. Crew will always win. And this is under the assumption that everyone's going to stay together in their group, and if someone breaks off, they hit the button and vote them out because they are an imposter. However, this really isn't going to be the case, and actually, there's a reason for this. And it's game theory. And not that game theory, not MatPat, but like actual game theory, like the economic theory, game theory. Now, I'm not an expert on game theory, but I know the basics, and it essentially goes like this. People will tend to make decisions that give them the chance at a better outcome, not necessarily getting them a better outcome. And a very easy way to demonstrate this, which makes more sense, is called the prisoner's dilemma. Now, this is told a little bit differently with different names, different amount of years, etc., but the premise is the same. So in our example, there's these 2 guys named Tom and Robin, and they got arrested for a crime. Now, if you think of this from like a police standpoint, the numbers don't really make sense, so just don't think about it that way. We're just trying to demonstrate a principle, and that's it. We're not trying to actually apply this anywhere else. So you'll notice there's a confess and a deny column and row for each of the guys, Tom and Robin. And this refers to a decision they have to make. So, and it shows how many years in prison they would get in that regard. So let's say, for example, Tom denies that he had any involvement in this crime, and Robin confesses to the crime and rats out his partner in the process. In that scenario, we look at the top right corner, and we see Robin gets 1 year in jail and Tom gets 10 years. Obviously, this isn't very good for Tom, but that's how you read this. So let's go through and order the best case scenario for Tom. So the best case scenario is Tom confesses and Robin denies, which would only get Tom 1 year in prison. And obviously, the less amount of time in prison, the better, so that's how we're ranking these. The next best, the second best, would be they both deny and Tom gets 2 years. The third best would be they both confess and Tom gets 3 years. And the worst case scenario is Tom denies but Robin confesses and then Tom gets 10 years. So now let's very briefly go over Robin's best case to worst case scenario. So for the same exact reasoning as Tom, the best case scenario for Robin is Robin confesses and Tom denies. Second best is they both deny. Third best is they both confess. And the worst is Robin denies and Tom confesses. And when you look at these together and then understand what game theory says each of these guys should do, it makes perfect sense. So game theory actually says that both of them should confess. So why is that? Why would they get the third best possible scenario? Well, because game theory says they should be going for their best case scenario. So for each of them, the best case scenario is they confess and the other guy denies. So they're both going to confess and they're going to end up with 3 years when they could have both denied and gotten 2 each. So the real point I want to drive home, the whole reason I gave this economics mini lecture is to drive home the point that the whole point of game theory is to make a decision that could lead to the best possible outcome. It doesn't necessarily lead to the best outcome, but it gives you the best chance of getting the best outcome. So now let's relate this back to Among Us. I kind of remade the chart, and this is what it looks like. So now you can see the row and column for Robin and Tom now say win and variance. And just assume win means using this strategy and winning, and variance is your everyday game where it changes game to game. You don't stick together, and it's just kind of random, or it varies, so variance. Now, the numbers inside the chart are pretty irrelevant, but I call them quote-unquote fulfillment points, which means how fulfilled you feel for using that strategy and what the other person chooses as well. So in this case, a higher number is better. This will make more sense as I explain each of their standpoints. So let's hop into Tom's best case scenario to worst case scenario. So as you can see, Tom's best case scenario is both Tom and Robin want to win. They want to use this strat, which gives them 10 fulfillment points, which again means nothing. It's just a way to quantify this. It's also important to note, obviously you can win in a varying game, but just pretend that they're just completely separate and it's just this strategy versus your everyday game, not necessarily the act of winning. So his second best scenario is they both play variance, which is just your everyday game. Now the next two are tied for the worst case scenario, and that is they're playing with different strategies. Tom is playing variance and Robin is playing win, or Tom is playing win and Robin's playing variance. Because if you have two people who are trying to play in very different ways, and they don't work together cohesively at all, neither person's gonna have a good time. But in this case, we're only worried about Tom, and Tom's not having a good time, and they're trying to run different strategies. So now let's quickly look at Robin's, and I'm sure you already realize it's the opposite of Tom's. Robin's best case scenario is they're both playing variance. Next best is they're both playing the win strategy. And tied for worst again is they're playing different strategies, and he's just not having fun either. So in this case, Tom would play the winning strategy to try to get to his best case scenario, and Robin would play variance trying to get to his best case scenario, which leads to both of them just having a miserable time. And essentially what this shows us is it's just a very, very long-winded way of explaining that you'll never get 10 people in a lobby that want to do this, ever. It's just not going to happen. In a million years, you'll never get this to work. But I think it's very, very interesting to think about how it would actually solve the game and make it so crewmates always win. A brief backstory of why this is so interesting to me is the game of chess, which is completely unrelated, isn't solved in that there's no way to always end up in a draw. There's no optimal way to play that's proven and just always works. So when you have a game that something always works, it's considered solved, and I think it's just a very interesting concept. So that's kind of how we ended up here, and why I dug so deep into that one message sent in my Discord. Now, if you made it this far, you're a real one, about 17 and a half minutes in. If you made it this far, please consider liking the video and subscribing. Clearly you enjoyed the content, or you wouldn't have listened to me talk about something that's, in the grand scheme of things, irrelevant for so long. If you could also drop a comment, I heard that helps the algorithm, and I'd really appreciate that as well. But yeah, that's gonna be it from me for now. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you in another video, and until then, see you soon.